The Civil War was the first war to capitalize on mass media. Newspapers were the sole source of widespread information on the war, with major papers available to the armies in Virginia a day or two after publication, sometimes even during active campaigns. During the war, newspapers gave the public near constant access to breaking news from across the American states and territories, taking in return the ability to influence public opinion, affecting politics, military operations, and created the light with which the general population viewed the war. We would read with amazement accounts of what our own troops were supposed to have done. I've been so often deceived by newspaper reports that I've lost confidence in our press, and I believe nothing coming through the channel. We have learned not to swallow anything whole that we see in the papers. If half the victories we read were true, the rebellion would not have a leg to stand on. The papers used this power, skewing public perception and glorifying the Civil War. And people relied on their information, despite its inaccuracies and inconsistencies. One obvious change in the paper's reports was on the issue of children serving in the armies. Slaughter of the Innocents, a New York Times article, paints a grotesque portrait of the South, condemning them for their use of minors in the defense of the Bonnie Blue Flag. According to the article, the South was an indelible disgrace upon the insurgent leaders before the civilized nations of the earth. Just a few short years later, the northern paper, the Boston Daily Advertiser, not only recognizes the use of sinless and gentle beings in the Union Army, but praises little John Clem, the 12-year-old corporal who killed a rebel colonel at Chickamauga. The press not only changed its views on children enlisting, but in some ways may be responsible for it. Young boys believed the romanticism of war that the papers created, and enlisted, basing their perspectives on what they believed to be reliable news. The boys' views were corrected abruptly when their glamorous ideas about combat were shattered by their first introduction to gunfire and cannons. Such a day, the booming of the cannon and rattling of the muskets, you have no idea how it was. I've turned through that old book of yours and looked at the pictures and read a little about war, but I did not know anything what it was.
I got to see the elephant at last, and to tell you the honest truth, I don't care about seeing him very often anymore. For if there's any fun in such work, I couldn't see it. It's not the thing it's bragged up to be. What they saw was unlike the enchanting illustrations provided by the newspapers. It was more similar to Matthew Brady's collection, The Dead of Antietam. The photography featured for the first time battlefields before the corpses were removed.
Regardless of their inaccuracy, the press's influence had sway over other matters as well. Both militarily and politically, the swift stroke of a pen could make or break an officer's career, and for this, the soldiers bore resentment.
Reports of newspaper correspondents that the troops are all eager for the fray are all simply bosh. I don't know any individual soldier who is at all anxious to be led, or driven for that matter, into another battle. General William Tecumseh Sherman had such deep hatred for the press that he attempted to ban them from his army. If I had my choice, I would kill every reporter in the world. But I'm sure we would be getting reports from hell before breakfast. Thus, the press's impact on the young generation spanned several levels. If the newspapers portrayed a realistic picture of war, maybe boys wouldn't have enlisted and died trying to fight in a man's war. Maybe, if editors had experienced the horrors of war, they wouldn't have glorified children's participation in the Civil War. You will call that a cowardly wish. But although we see a great many in print, we see very few in reality, of such desperate heroes that they'd rather go into the heat of battle than not.